Hello, welcome to this Mamotreko vlog, this channel vlog, for lack of a better way of describing it. I kind of just wanted to talk about some topics that I don't necessarily touch on the channel, since kind of synths and music and photography is the bread and butter of the channel. This is just a chance to talk about something different. This week, a friend of mine clued me into a new search engine that is being launched. And you're like, search engines? That's not something that maybe you think about that much, right? You use Google and that's it. But it's something that I think about a lot, especially being on YouTube and doing videos on YouTube, because YouTube actually has been dubbed as the second search engine, the second top search engine in the world after Google. So this new search engine is called Yepcom, and I'm not sponsored by them. I just found out about it, read about it a little bit, and thought it was interesting, and that's why I'm talking about it. So basically, what's interesting about this search engine is that it's developed by the same people who run Ahrefs. That's a sort of service for website managers and people kind of who work on web content professionally to kind of track how a website is doing in terms of discoverability on YouTube, on Google primarily. I think they also do a bit of YouTube. That's kind of been a new feature. But basically you can put in like a website and then it tells you, okay, this page is appearing on search results for this topic in this area. And you can also look up kind of ideas by looking up search terms and kind of getting estimated search volume, how much that term is searched for, but then also you get a bunch of other stats like how many links coming onto a page are required for that page to go up the Google search results. So it's basically a way of tracking how web content is doing and finding opportunities to improve it and so on. What's called SEO, or search engine optimization. But I thought it was interesting that this new search engine is developed by this company, essentially the same people behind this company, Ahrefs, because they clearly have experience with and know a lot about search engines and performance of web content on search engines. And while a lot of other alternatives to Google and, say, Bing, for example, being the two main ones, search engines like DuckDuckGo or Startpage or Ecosia, they mainly tout sort of their privacy features, the fact that they don't actively track you. This search engine, while it also does claim that, talks about a sort of a revenue share model for search. That's the kind of unique selling point. It's not that clear now how the mechanics of it work yet, but I think the idea is that if you search something and click on a search result, then the page that goes to is supposed to get a sort of revenue cut, I assume, from ads on the top of the search engine, which is that I hadn't encountered before, and that's why I'm talking about it, because it seems kind of interesting. The founder or the creator of this new search engine was talking about this, how Google basically has benefited from quality content from websites and blogs and so on, which it serves up in its search results, but it doesn't really give anything back. And in fact, depending on who you ask, it actually kind of takes something away, because Google has been adding, this has been happening probably for the last 5 to 10 years, but sort of snippets or knowledge boxes at the top of the search results that kind of highlight a paragraph or so of information directly on the search page, which means that when people see that, they don't really go through to click and go to that web page. They just kind of read what's on Google, and then that page doesn't get any visits. And currently, like, if you think about it, the web content, kind of articles, websites, and so on, they function in maybe 2 or 3 different models. One is kind of like legacy media, like the New York Times and so on, which are established and they just have a web presence. The other way is through ad revenue, right? So a blog might have ads, also often run by Google, kind of embedded in the content or the side or the top and so on. And then the third way is through affiliate links, which I'm sure you're familiar with. A lot of YouTubers and YouTube channels use those to kind of round out their revenue. This new search engine is kind of applying that model, but directly onto search. That's kind of how I understand it, which is interesting. That is something new. But all of this got me thinking actually about a sort of a more fundamental topic around search engines and the web and how you kind of find information or find content, which is basically how content, how web pages, how videos are evaluated by a search engine algorithm and how they're ranked in terms of relevance or whatever. Right now, what Google does and has been doing for a long time, it's kind of been part of its success, is it kind of tracks, and I think that Google Chrome helps with that a lot. It basically tracks when someone clicks on a search result, how long they stay on that page, whether they click on anything on that page, and they're basically sort of tracking engagement, and that then affects how high or how low a search result is placed. And that has huge implications because on Google search results, if you think about it, how often do you click to a different page? For the majority of searches, you're going to click on a search result that's in the first page. That's basically one of the top 10 search results. And for that search query, there might actually be millions of relevant hits. The reason why I'm thinking about this is actually something to do more with YouTube, because YouTube kind of, I think, blends that kind of relevance model with sort of other engagement metrics that are more relevant to YouTube, which is, for example, how long you watch a video for, and do you leave a comment, do you give a like, and so on, right? And what that means is that, I don't know if you've noticed this if you watch a lot of YouTube, but essentially when you go on YouTube, the recommendations that you get are going to be related to what you've been watching, which I know it kind of sounds obvious and dumb, right? When I say that. But I think that points to a flaw in this way of doing things, because it means that you're never really exposed to sort of surprising content or something that you might not expect. If you're always getting what you want, basically, or close to what you want, then eventually you'll get tired of it. And that's kind of what's been happening with me and YouTube. And I kind of did a test of actually, instead of just like going with a video that was recommended to me on the front page, I just searched something specific that maybe was a bit obscure that I wanted to watch. And that led to often older videos that had a lot less views, maybe videos that were a bit unpolished, that didn't necessarily have a point. But it was a kind of new experience, and it was surprising, and for me it was rewarding. Did that a few times, and I just went back to YouTube, just to the main page, to see if the recommendations had changed. The recommendations on YouTube, after I did this a few times, kind of went haywire, in fact. I got older videos, I got completely unrelated videos. The recommendations that had been like kind of closely following my interests or my searches, now that I was purposefully searching for things that necessarily weren't easy to kind of find a trend between them, then YouTube struggled with finding relevant videos for me. I kind of want to make a sort of a distinction between things that I find entertaining or engaging and things that I'm interested in. Those are not necessarily the same things. And I think that Google and YouTube think that those are one. And it serves their purposes to do so because it serves their financial interest, which is to serve ads that are related to your interests, right? In terms of Google, we're all in these demographic buckets based around age, gender, what we've searched in a kind of broad way, and then that kind of categorization is sold to advertisers. And then Google tells advertisers, here, we have this audience for you that is interested in your products, in your adverts, right? But the problem is that if I'm watching a video that maybe the title isn't that necessarily descriptive in a sort of pedestrian sense, maybe it's a kind of a pun, or it's allegorical, or it's poetic, but it doesn't say what it does on the tin, then YouTube struggles and Google struggles. Likewise, if there isn't like a description that kind of has maybe search terms that Google or YouTube can kind of pick out and then feed into the algorithm, then it's going to struggle to find an audience for that video. And that's probably why that video doesn't have that many views, because it isn't compelling in terms of how Google classifies content and how it can link it to certain demographics that are going to find it entertaining and engaging, and their eyeballs are going to be stuck to it for a while. If a video doesn't have like clear descriptions or a clear point to it, then YouTube is going to struggle. And the same thing also with the fact that I'm speaking now, actually, YouTube is able to transcribe all of this and then extract that kind of relevance information, let's say. And anyways, my record time is running low, so I'm going to get to the point, because that's what you're here for, I'm sure. I just think that that's a boring way of categorizing content. It doesn't agree with me. I think it's uninspired. And I think it's purely driven by a profit motive that helps Google and YouTube, but actually doesn't really inspire people. If you just keep giving me what I want, I'm going to grow tired of it. And I think I've seen a lot of like bigger content creators kind of not getting at this topic necessarily, but around this topic. They're kind of questioning the type of content that they make, or they're kind of questioning what they're doing on YouTube. And I think that's why. Sometimes finding something surprising, something unexpected, something that maybe necessarily doesn't fit what you're looking for is enriching. And I think that, unfortunately, I don't know if there is an online service or a search engine or a social platform that's designed with that in mind, that's designed to surprise you, that's designed to challenge you in terms of the content that you view or consume. And I don't mean in a sort of political way. I don't mean in a sort of divisive way. When I say challenge, I mean it purely in an aesthetic way. Maybe content that has different interpretations. Maybe content that leaves you asking more questions at the end after having viewed it than you had before. I don't see a service that promotes that or that fosters that sense of curiosity, of being open to new experiences. It seems like the web currently, but it's designed around giving you what you want, when you want it, and basically just following certain patterns of behavior, but not trying to, expand the field of someone's experience. It's just kind of deepening the groove that you're on. And that's just a shame, I think. And I guess I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you so much for watching.